Welcome, these will be my thoughts on Daredevil, Born Again, Season 2, Episode 6, Requiem. The episode is rated TVMA, so this video there will be spoilers for the show so far, and possibly of the MCU and adjacent leading up to it, and another episode I absolutely fucking loved. So, I definitely want to make sure to recommend some YouTube before I get too far into it, because otherwise I'm definitely going to forget. So, the Tabernacle, we need to talk about Bali becoming the Dubai of Southeast Asia, inframe out the philosophy of Hitman, why we're obsessed with cinematic assassins, Harlan Spinks, never read again, AI will do it for you, Innuendo Studios, finally back, Protagonist 3, Gordon, and Brigitte Empire, trans women banned from snooker. What can I say? There's just so fucking many videos I want to recommend. I'm not sure if I want to be able to keep it to just one. Certainly I wasn't today. Anyway, I really appreciate that they knew how badly we wanted Jessica Jones back, because when you look at the Disney Plus background for the show right now, that's not, Mr. Charles, and it's not, the funeral or something. Like, great elements, to be sure. No, it's Jessica Jones, and she is one of the first characters we see in the episode, and just very, very shortly after, considering her screen time, it's very disproportionate to how much action she actually gets. Like, some of it is, that first one is largely off screen, of course, but because it's, trying to stay true to those Netflix Defenders of our shows, but cost cutting and all. But yeah, 2 action scenes within not that many minutes of screen time, and Kristen Ritter just steps into it like it doesn't feel like any time has passed. Like, this is the first she has not played this role in like 6 or 7 years now, and she just like wonderfully fits into it still. It's yeah. And it also, like, it's just great when you see something like this and you can really tell, okay, this actor really does want to be there. I knew that because I'd seen some interview where she talked about, how great it was to get back into it, so just, yeah. Now, I think I'm going to try to keep this mostly chronological, even though some of the things I most want to talk about are the very, very ending. Anyway, let's see. So yeah. We have, the doctor trying to console Fisk and losing the hugality. He really does not know who Fisk is, does he? That is, like, I would never be within bear hug to death distance Wilson fucking Fisk. But yeah. And I really appreciate so yeah. Fisk leaves and Buck steps in and he takes a look at it, and we see his face, and it's just like, it's another day at the office. He goes through them like shoes. And let's see, we have the oh right, and of course so I haven't watched the ones I wouldn't rule out that they've done at least one video, at least one of the it's done at least one video for this episode as well, but the up to and including episode 5, the videos by Jesse Gender and Break Room of Geeks. I think that's the one of Veer's channels. I can never remember if it's Break Room of Geeks or Council of Geeks, but one of those two. Fantastic analysis of the episodes so far. And yeah, the funeral was genuinely moving, and not an awful lot of screen time devoted to it, but it still really worked. And the little, we see, every major face present gets at least one, shot where we can really appreciate the emotion. And I don't know if it's in bad taste, but the show is fiction. I'm not talking about a real dead person. Fisk is still rocking that white suit. Like, my God. Fucking amazing. And let's see. I think that does pretty much get us to Was the next thing maybe Charles? No. Yeah, I think the very next thing was Charles seeing that the weapons have been moved, and we see that they are now with the AVTF, Anti-Vigilante Task Force, yeah. And, Saunders, dude's got serious nerve showing up to work after what he pulled, but I guess it would also be difficult for him to get away safely. I mean, probably Log, who uses the access card, right? That feels, yeah. And but yeah, the thing with Mr. Charles, obviously I meant to actually say something about that fucking scene, not just recap it. I'm just real quick gonna make sure that that's not something I have to deal with immediately. It is not. So yeah, Mr. Charles, that does show, yeah, like Kingpin genuinely thinks he has the power in this relationship. He thinks he can get away with fucking anything. And based on later in the episode, that does not seem to be the case. Thank fucking God. And yeah, I think the very next thing is right, great intercutting. That was the funeral, wasn't it? God, my fucking memory. Anyway, I believe it was the funeral intercut with and great the camera panning and leads into transitions, multiple, plural. Dex in front of Karen and Matt, and and like struggling, and Matt being like, "Come on, I saved you. I need you to make it," and Karen being like, "Do it, fucking die." And the shit, I think it was maybe Task Force doing something or other at one of their facilities. Oh, that might have been when we see Saunders, and yeah, it's pretty quickly becomes clear, Powell knows. I thought he was going to do something in the car when he said, I'm going to sit next to you. Now, yeah, I think that does bring us to, so, I mean, I appreciate that they didn't take forever to reveal it because, yeah, it was more than a little obvious who this, very quaint home belongs to. I mean, it's unusual for us to see Jessica in that situation, but like, who the fuck else was this going to be, But yeah, as soon as she hears that there's like a bunch of people with guns right outside her home, and she's immediately just jumping into the fray like that. Okay, yeah, I mean, if it was a different show, different property, it could be other characters, but here that's definitely Jessica Jones, and her daughter just playing, and they throw in this like grenade, which that is a thing that I mean, ICE and police have thrown, you know yeah, stuff like that way too close to children, and I just think there should be legal consequences to that. I think anyone who could have stopped that and didn't should have to engage in restorative justice, restitution. And this innocent little child, I genuinely wasn't sure if they were going to have it go off, because like, let's be honest, in the Defenders verse, there's not very much that's off limits, and yeah, she treats it like a toy, but yeah, we hear Jessica tossing them around like rag dolls, and there's like a non-zero number of them get thrown up against. Well, that makes it sound like I didn't enjoy it. I loved it. They get thrown up against the glass, and yeah, and she gets in. We hear the beeping getting increasingly insistent, and thankfully Jessica gets back and immediately crushes it. And I was a little bit worried about if she was gonna, because like, based on her solo seasons, but her reaction was wonderful. She just, sweetie, it's not a toy, and she smiles at her. And there's Jessica, in case you you know, maybe you like, you know, maybe your memory blotted it out or something. No, Jessica Jones smiled. And I'm not one of those people who say, oh, you know, William should smile more. No. I mean, it's great to see her happy enough to smile. Because on her solo show, that tended to be a flashback thing. That was like before Kilgrave or before, you know, Alicia killed that guy that, you know, said he was going to start his own club and or bar, something like that, you know, just. And it's so there's a couple of things I want to say about Danielle. I cannot comment on. I saw on the MTV trivia for this episode that she's apparently from the comics. I have not read. I'm not sure I've read any Jessica Jones comics, which I know, shame on me. I wish I had. I absolutely loved all 3 seasons of her solo show. Still some of my favorite. I mean, I was gonna say MCU. Honestly, anything ever, anything media, those 3 seasons, some of my favorite. There are video games I love that I don't love as much as those 3 seasons. And I'm, you know, I am not speaking for anyone else when I declare my opinion that video games I consider to be the best format. There's, yeah. Why, yes, I would play if they may. Oh my god. And now my mind's going. God, can you imagine something along the lines of like Telltale's The Walking Dead, but with Jessica Jones? God, that would be fucking amazing. Anyway, the things that I can talk about is, one is I was a little bit worried, and I guess I still am, because it's not like the show's over or something, but I'm trying to be worried about the fate of Danielle. Once again, they really didn't hold back in the, you know, in the Defenders verse, and so far also these 2 seasons, you know, they really fucked up shit happens. So that's one thing. They are, you know, but it's also just Jessica really deserves a win, you know, so it really is great that she seems to genuinely be happy, you know, like she goes to Matt and they, you know, he asks about Danielle and she doesn't say, I don't even know what to do, you know, because like we've seen how, you know, on the solo show she would sometimes be very harsh with people that she does clearly love, you know. One of my favorite things about those 3 seasons, Jessica Jones 3, yeah, the way that every major character is in one way or another, to some degree, a complete fucking train wreck, so messy, and just trying to figure things out, and we are watching them make all these self-destructive decisions, and like, it's obviously not role model material, but I don't think that media has to be that. I'm glad that some media exists that is, but I don't think all has to. It's so limiting. Like some people think that, oh, if you have a major female character, she has to be a good role model. Why? You don't ask for that of male characters. Like a lot of the people who say, oh, you know, Jessica Jones is not a good role model. They're also the people who are like fucking obsessed with Breaking Bad, which I'm not saying I blame them for, but just like, you're saying he's not messy? Mr. Bad is a complete mess. Okay, I think that's enough trolling. Obviously, I know his name is Walter White. Anyway, yeah, that is not something that we've seen so far on the show, but it's still early, and I do also think, yeah, you know, considering how much she lost over those 3 seasons, if they want to just have her be in a much better place, like consistently as she is in this episode, I do think, I mean, even with Matt, like she's way less, you know, like remember how she talked to him and in the actual Defenders miniseries, like every time they encountered each other, she had at least one sarcastic comment, and I'm here for it. You know, I thought it was perfect. But yeah, the fact that she's in a better place, and also just feels earned I appreciate that, okay, so we didn't see it. I think some of the things that happened to her in her solo seasons, I could see her ending up like really taking stock and being like, I have to change my habits. I have got to get my life under control. And let's see. And it's one of those things of like, so another thing to really important to note. I am not saying that everyone, including every woman, will only be happy if they have a child and a house and stuff like that. I'm, the thing is, Jessica lost her family so early, and the one she got instead, the one she was adopted into was a bit of a mess. Like after a while, she and Trish got along, but that was also not unfraught with issues. And yeah, I do get the sense that she, I forget if she said, so I rewatched the first 2 seasons recently. I have not watched season 3 since I did my videos on it. So on the show, I mean, yeah, you can do the math. I don't remember if she, in season 3, expresses a desire to be a parent, but certainly I always got the sense that it was more the fact that she had lost so much. Like she pushes everyone away. She barely even has friends. And that's because she's terrified of what will happen if she lets anyone get too close. If she were able to overcome that, I think there is some chance that she would want to be a mother. Like she clearly, I mean, so as mentioned, rewatch season 2. Look at how she is with Vito. I mean, not immediately, but eventually, she does get to. Yeah. So I absolutely can see it. I don't know how I feel about the thing. So she says that her powers now come and go ever since Danielle, so since she gave birth. So one option is, of course, because this would be very comic booky, maybe Danielle absorbs some of the power and Jessica hasn't realized because she's overprotective, so Danielle never gets hurt. That's one option, or maybe it just hasn't manifested yet. That's like mutants in X-Men comics often don't get their powers. Their powers manifest when they're like teenagers, so that's an option. But yeah, I don't know if it's maybe that the idea is that they were worried about like stakes in action scenes, because like it does come up, she tries to, or she punches Powell, doesn't quite work. And yeah, I don't know. I am holding off judgment until I see if they, so yeah, see where they're going with it. And I feel like there's at least one thing. Is that maybe, I don't know why. Yeah, the so we have the let's see. Yeah, I think that's when Mr. Charles calls Fisk, and yeah, genuinely the yeah, he tries to get something out of Fisk, and there's just nothing. Fisk even hangs up before he can go, my mom and dad are going to be so mad at me. By which I mean Uncle Sam. Yeah, I kind of fucked up that joke. Whatever. Such as it was. Anyway, yeah. And yeah, so he, goes to the governor, and now she's withdrawing support, and that was also, the funeral. She's like, I don't know if I can trust Fisk, And oh, right, I think now I remember. Somewhere around here we have, yeah, so BB talks to Daniel, and I appreciate her pointing out, like, dude, you're my friend. Of course I saved your birthday in my phone calendar. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, And let's see. Yeah, honestly, I do think it's kind of sweet that he goes to be with his mom on his birthday instead of some other. Yeah, and I think yeah, we have Buck talking about the meal. That was pretty funny. I don't know if it was super appropriate, but I do like if if they're gonna keep doing. I'm glad they are toning down the number and goofiness of MCU jokes, recently, because I do think like something like Thor: Love and Thunder, and I don't hate that movie, but that movie really went way overboard with those, and I appreciate that one technically is also just a comedy, so that's of course there's gonna be some jokes, but yeah, the thing about Daniel thinks it's a form of diet. And yeah, very clever. I didn't know it had a name, but I have heard of that thing about leaking something to only one person, and you make sure that the thing you leak is fake, so it can't be that they discovered it on their own. And I think, but yeah, I appreciate that plot line continues developing, however, somewhat gradually. But yeah, I think that's when we have Matt and Jess on the roof. And yeah, I really appreciate that she immediately says, you said this wasn't going to blow back on me. The only reason I got involved is because you said that, I was going to be able to not have to get involved. Because I'm a Defenders vs. protagonist, and I demand to be reluctant about my heroism. And I think that, but yeah, they make their way into the place, and that's also very nice and clever because like yeah, he might not have minded raiding it himself, but clearly he wouldn't have been able to take out all of the guards without any of this help. So yeah, very nicely done on that, and yeah, some cool gags. She's hitting people with metal and using as a shield and all this stuff. That does bring me to one thing. So she says, this is after she said that the super strength comes and goes, and he points out, sounds the way you're breathing sounds like you maybe have a broken rib. And see, all I'm saying is, Jessica Jones before this episode in the Defenders verse would probably have responded with, keep talking like that, you're going to end up with a broken rib, Anyway, yeah. So she knows that the power comes and goes, but she's still throwing herself into a fight like this. I don't know, that felt a little bit just, yeah. But I appreciate they want more, they want tension, which is one of those things, I don't know, for me at least, her solo show was never that much about like action. Like there was tension and suspense for sure, and there were scenes where she was in danger. She's not, yeah, she's not bulletproof like Luke Cage is. With him, they found other, yeah, other ways to make it tense and suspenseful. But with her, to me, it wasn't so much about seeing her use, her powers and such. And, she's going to be on Daredevil, which was, one of the most, we're here at least in large part for the action, like other stuff as well, obviously, the drama, the acting, the writing, the complexity, the grit. But, some of those other things are also true of other Defenders verse shows that don't have as amazing action. So, of course, they're going to have more of that. And for that, I appreciate, because like other than that, I mean, if she is hit with a bullet, that can still be, if not quite as bad, she heals faster, still bad. So to have the powers come and go like that, I don't know exactly what else to do to have there be. I mean, yeah, so, season 2 had had Alicia with even more super strength. But that's not really what they want to do here. Now, yeah, and they end up destroying, the place with all the guns. So now Fisk does, he doesn't have access to them. Mr. Charles also didn't get them, which gets him in trouble with Charles. And that was Kingpin's own doing. His undoing, his own doing. And certainly it looks like. Yeah, I think that. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to more Jessica Jones. But I mean, let's see, what did I just earlier today rewatched episode 2 of season 3 of Daredevil. So should be able to finish rewatching season 3 of Daredevil before season 2 of Born Again is done, and I might make it to more Jessica Jones, at least if not before season 2 of Born Again is over, at least not terribly long after either. So, I do have more Jessica Jones to look forward to, whether it's, well, I doubt this is going to be the last time we see her here. Now, I think that does bring us to, yeah, genuinely very sweet in, in Daniel's mom's home. And, we see his room, and yeah, seeing that, hearing the way, I think her name is Gloria, his mom, talks about him and to him, I totally understand how he ended up the way he is, which, I mean, if we're being honest, sometimes he can be, sweet, but he's also, it's that thing of like ambition, it can be a great thing, but it can also lead you to do horrible things, and that's kind of where he's at. And he's overconfident, he keeps getting into things that he can't really get out of. He's extremely fortunate that some of the people he deals with are so forgiving. Now, I think that does... Yeah, and BB, she decides not to send the thing to Ellison, which would have outed her as the leaker, but then he went through her pocket. Yeah, so yeah, he did indeed see that something was put there. He just waited to, which is also like, yeah, sometimes he's a little bit more clever than some of us give him credit for, because like, yeah, if he had just said, what's that in your pocket, that's not going to, I mean, she's gonna take it out of the pocket when he's not looking and deny while he is, she's gonna distract. She knows how to handle a situation like that, but once he has it in his hand, what is she gonna do, so. And yeah, the thing with the supplements that Gloria is selling, and turns out BB is buying what she's selling. And I do also appreciate, yeah, the nature of the leak. It's so outlandish that of course she's going to tell Elle, and also like we know for a fact that it's not true, but it is also like I feel like even if we hadn't seen him, be told by Buck that he has to leak something fake, I would still have been like, that's probably not true though. But of course, to BB, it's like music to her ears. It sounds amazing. So, both as a story and as a, development of this whole fucked up situation that she's trapped in now. And also, yeah, after the funeral, and with the, with how many people take issue with Fisk and how he's handling Iran. I mean, vigilantes. And I think that does get us to the right. Yeah, the discussion about what happens to Dex with yeah, pointing out, if they take him to a hospital, that's a death warrant. and Karen and was it Angela, I think, maybe, are both like, we'll take him. Sure thing. And, she wakes him up in not the least rude way I've ever seen. And I do really love the way that, he is still saying, no, yeah, go ahead. He took out Foggy, eye for eye, tooth for a tooth. Like, that is how he feels about this, And yeah, I think there's some chance, if not for Matt, she would indeed have done it. She had several seconds to put that gun down. And, yeah, very intense acting. Really, really great as she, and yeah, it's that thing that, comes up every so often in vigilante comics. What if the only way you can stop, because like across a number of comic books, the only thing that can stop a bad guy in a costume is a good guy in a costume. What if it's not enough to like capture them, put them in prison? And they later in the episode, Fisk points out, you can't exactly arrest me. It's not like he, I mean, hypothetically, let's say that he gave Dex over to the police. Yeah, there's no way that they're gonna let him live. I mean, Fisk said he wanted him alive. I don't think that's like, he's not gonna shake his fucking hand. He's probably gonna kill him with his own bare hands. And I think that does pretty well bring us to, but yeah, clearly she has been affected by Frank. And I really loved, they talk about, how she killed Wesley and she doesn't regret it because it was him or her. And I really appreciate that because, like, yeah, absolutely. She is not even remotely wrong. And I say that as someone who abhors real life violence. Violence should only ever be the last resort in reality. I think that does pretty much get us to, yeah, and the big protest and they protest at this, like, I forget, it's called a vigil or something, and yeah, an anti-vigilante task force of protesters. Love to see it. And for a little while, I was a tiny bit worried. I mean, I'm not saying these have to be super realistic, but I was relieved when I saw, the thing that really escalated the violence, it did not escalate into physical violence until the AVTF decided that was, because that's, like, listen, when you look at, like, statistically speaking, at least in recent memory, I'm not saying that, no one on the left has ever been violent. I appreciate, I forget the exact, I saw a number somewhere where it was, it's several decades ago that the violence was not, political violence in America was not primarily the conservatives. And I'm not saying every conservative is violent. I'm not saying zero progressives are violent. I'm simply pointing to this actual stat. But in recent, recent decades, when there is violence at a left-wing protest of something in America, it tends to be because law enforcement escalated it into violence. And it even starts, they blame the protesters for something they clearly didn't do so that they can claim, it's okay for us to use lethal force. I am interested to see if in an upcoming episode, because, like, we barely see it here, but that one guy clearly saw that Powell was the one who killed Saunders. I wonder if he is going to, like, could that be a radicalizing moment? Looking at Comrade ex-AVTF here, wouldn't be the first. Many such stories. And yeah, he, so yeah. And he even, he confronts Saunders and said, I knew it was you, Saunders, and it breaks my heart. If the show can reference Godfather, so can I. And I think that, yeah. And, I don't think Javi's gonna make it. That's yeah. And one of the AVTF rips Karen's wig off, which I guess means that person hates those wigs as much as Nando V Movies does, which is fair. And yeah, so she's, I'm guessing, gonna be arrested. I don't think they're gonna kill her off. She's way too big of an asset for the show. But yeah, that is quite the development. That gives Fisk something over Matt. Although I don't know if he's gonna find out in time to act on it before Matt does something. But that is also like, yeah, I don't know for sure if Matt is 100% unwilling to kill Fisk. Like, they have done this dance for a while now, and so far he's been unwilling to. But at what point? And that is, of course, part of why characters like Dex and Vanessa were killed off. The bring it to this kind of. Did I say Dex? I obviously meant Foggy. That's why Foggy was killed off by Dex. No, I didn't love it either, but that is the because we saw Matt's immediate reaction was to try to kill Dex, and now maybe is he gonna try to kill Will? And I think that does. There's so many things in this episode. Let's see. Other than that, we also have the part where Heather is trying to process. Interesting that she stole jewelry there. I am not certain that that's going to be something that's going to end well. I feel like if this was Telltale's The Walking Dead final season, that would be one of those optional actions where it has the little, let's see, was it a red line, exclamation point, something like that, to tell you, oh, if you do this, there's going to be consequences. But yeah, she talks to Buck, and I am genuinely wondering if they're going to do some kind of romantic thing with them. Like, Vanessa saw some reason to put them next to each other, and we were never explicitly told why. And yeah, the thing about how she talks about she was supposed to help Muse, and how that ended, how it started versus how it's going. And then he offers to let her choke him, and I appreciate that he actually held out for a while before stopping her. And it's like, considering his past, he's gone through worse. So it's not really that. I wasn't thinking, oh, this scene is going to end with Heather killing Buck. But I do wonder if this is going to be like, I mean, they're going to have a BDSM relationship, maybe? Is she a psychosexual therapist or a psychosexual therapist? Like one in, I believe it was Boobs Week. It was one of the fairly recent Quarators videos for sure. Now, I think that pretty much covers. I was also wondering if I mean I guess there's still room. Maybe Angela's gonna use, because I mean she's got the amulet. Maybe she's gonna. We know that she must have used her super strength. Just so far, it's always been off screen. Now, yeah, and I thought the protest, it was such a great idea to have them project the image there, and that is also something I've heard of protests where something like that was indeed done, and that was what they were filming and editing for, to get the yeah. And it is indeed some of the things that have gotten most support for abolishing ICE. Oh, I'm sorry, anti-ICE, according to Kash Patel and his lovely little Sharpie, is when we hear details about just how harrowing it is. It's, when ICE detains people. And how these are innocent people, And of course, being, it's a show, they have to make it big. So these, we already saw some of this kind of stuff was like cell phone video. Those, the BB, well, not the BB report, the Kingpin. I forget what BB calls it, but yeah, the Mayor Kingpin videos, But yeah, the I think that does pretty much cover. I feel like there's at least one more thing I want to say. Yeah, the fight itself, Kingpin and Fisk, amazing. Really appreciate that they are getting to that. I mean, I guess, yeah, we are like 2/3 of the way through the season, thereabouts. So it is, I'm genuinely not entirely sure how much longer are they. Is he going to be the main villain for season 3, which we know is coming as well? Because like I do feel like at some point, I mean, obviously I acknowledge so far Defenders vs. Daredevil has been, when he's his own seasons, I mean, has been at his best when Fisk is the central villain. That's why seasons 1 and 3 are better than season 2, despite season 2 having, fucking ninjas and the Punisher and just, so the yeah. With that said, by the end of this season, it will have been 4 seasons. Like, at this point, Rudy Giuliani is calling a press conference in front of these and wondering how long are these two going to keep fighting? Because, I mean, I love seeing Daredevil go up against Kingpin. He does have other really cool villains that I love to see. So, yeah, I don't know. I could see it working if by the end of, I think it's like 9 episodes, so there's 3 more. If by the end of the 9th episode, if Matt, I mean, hypothetically, what if Fisk ends up in the raft or something? I could see that being a pretty definitive, because like they already did the thing where he tries to get out by, informing on a bunch of others. They did that in season 3 of the solo, the original solo show. So I don't think I think putting him in prison, or maybe just having him with another major villain, although that's difficult to balance well. I don't know. Anyway, I thought it worked. At first, I was a little unsure about. So it looks cool, obviously, but at the start of the fight, Kingpin is just not even, at all able to hit Matt, and I'm glad that did not keep being the case, because I would have thought that's not really the best way to handle this, But yeah, fantastic. Loved seeing them do stuff that you wouldn't really, yeah, just some really, really great choreography, and I think that does, yeah, and they talk about like, what would make, what would end this, and Matt says, if you leave New York, I leave New York. And I think that does pretty much. Right. So just briefly, I do want to acknowledge, obviously, if they really are, with Heather and Buck, if they really are going to do a BDSM relationship, I hope that it is, respectful and well-informed, rather than yet another American media depiction where it's like alarmist and moral panic, and yeah. But, rather than listening to me talk about, I'm not an expert on BDSM, please rather listen to Cat Black when talking about such things. Yeah, I think that does pretty much cover. Yeah, I like that Powell is very upset that he was, and he was mad at Jessica. Like, did he think that hit that knocked him out was Jessica? Because like he clearly didn't get knocked out when she at least first hit him, did he not realize he got hit in the back of the head while Jessica was standing in front of him? Like, she's not, embiggening herself. She's not Ms. Marvel or something, but yeah. Misogynists love to blame women for the actions of men. I think that does just about do it. Yeah. Really looking forward to more. And I think that... right. It was interesting when they put on the masks. So, like, I remember seeing that in the trailers. So I wasn't hugely surprised. But yeah, it is like this thing of like, feels like meant to be a V for Vendetta reference. It does make me wonder, like, I mean, let's see. Had that happened when this episode was being written? Because, like, I've heard of, No King's protesters, in costumes and such. From what I have heard, none of them were violent or, like, wore something that would make them look scary. It was, like it's dinosaur and various animal, like, they didn't look, it was in part because it was effective to make it look ridiculous when ICE then claimed, oh, see, look at these dangerous terrorists. So that is but yeah, it doesn't have to be a one-to-one. It's clearly not trying to be an exact one-to-one. I also appreciated the part with the this vigilante killed Vanessa, and the I think it might have been BB. Wow. BB, who said, we saw what happened, that's not, yeah. And yeah, I think that does pretty well cover the entire thing. So I have a theory about, because Jessica says, they came around asking me and others like me, if they were going to work with them. I told them to fuck off. Not everyone like me did. I think I might know who, but I'm waiting to see if they're going to say it first. But that definitely, I hope that that hypothetical is going to come true, because I definitely think that could be really, really interesting, and that could definitely get some great stuff going for this. Yeah, I think, right. God, I fucking loved. So yeah, when Kingpin, I mean, we already had it. It was less literal early in the episode, but he takes the guns away from Mr. Charles, who's already expressed that this is not going to go. You're not going to be able to keep getting away with. You can't keep getting away with this. And not, as mentioned, he doesn't end up being able to have the AVTF use those guns anyway. So he should have just given them to Mr. Charles, or left them with Mr. Charles, or yeah. And yeah, during the fight, he's the one who throws Daredevil into Rabbit in the Snowstorm, and not long after gets blood on it. He is the one ruining everything for himself. It's not other people who, yeah. And the look on his face when he sees what he did to Rabbit in the Snowstorm. And also, like, Daredevil didn't kill Vanessa, nor did the doctor at the start of the episode. He's taking out I appreciate he has other reasons to hate Daredevil, but still, because the thing is, why not just try to bargain with Daredevil and see if you can get him to hand over Dex. Like, there's some chance it won't happen, but if Kingpin kills Matt, the chance of him ever getting his hands on Dex dramatically decreases. You know, he knows Matt is not working alone. Why the fuck would, like, even, I don't know if he knows for sure. No, yeah, I think he does, doesn't he? No, that Karen is working. There's no fucking way she's gonna hand over Dex. Yeah. Not to fucking Kingpin. Jesus. Not even to watch him die, Mr. Anderson. That's just not gonna happen. But yeah, you know, you see the look on his face after fucking up Rabbit in a Snowstorm, and you can tell, like, he might not be emotionally ready to admit it, but intellectually he does realize this is his fault. You know, he is, yeah. To paraphrase, you know, like that was the thing I thought during that first scene with the doctor. You know, it's like, Doctor did everything in his power to save Vanessa. You might have been able to help save her if you had immediately called them in for testing as soon as she woke up. To paraphrase Marge Simpson, you should be bear hugging yourself.